Welcome to Confessions of a Small Biz Mama, episode 39. Getting back on track when you're stuck. Okay, so today I really want to talk about this because I think that there are so many of you that are stuck right now. You're stuck in COVID, you're stuck in this rut of remote school or hybrid school. You're not seeing the end, right, of this. And so that means that you think that like everything has to be in this holding pattern, right? Like we're all holding our breath until the vaccine, or we're all holding our breath until the season is over. And I just want to encourage you to not wait. Okay. I know I talked about not waiting until the new year to start working on your goals and your habits. And I heard back from some of you like, yeah, but I'm stuck. Like I'm stuck. I can't. I'm like, guys, you can. Mamas, you can. Okay. And so I want to talk about how to get back on track when you're stuck. Because here's the thing. And this is just me. Like this is just kind of how I'm wired now. I wasn't always wired like this, okay? But when people find out that I had cancer, they're like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." And like, you know what? I'm not, because having cancer created this fundamental shift in my attitude and how I look at things. And it created this opportunity in my life. So if you go back to 2006, if you've already heard the story, I'm sorry. But if you go back to 2006 and you say, okay, so in 2006, I was diagnosed with cancer and I was told I could not go back to, my crazy, stressful accounting firm job. Okay, so that led to me starting my business, Jeff and I kind of going on this journey to pay down our debt, which got me into blogging, right? And I started blogging about that, which got us thinking about, okay, so what else can we do online? Which also got me into teaching. And, so fast forward through this, that gets us to Jeff leaving his job, right, with the state to come work for us full time. The pivot, in our business, which caused us to start following Brendan Burchard, go to his conference. We went to his conference together. I think we ended up getting pregnant out in San Diego after being together for 17 years. Okay. Having Eric, coming up with this concept of Small Biz Mama and Bookkeeper Training School, and now, having helped almost 500 women, start their businesses like this, like that all sprang from cancer. And maybe it would have happened had it not been for cancer, but I don't think so, because I was on this path to, stay with a firm, become partner, and kind of be on that workaholic track. And so for me, I'm looking at this time saying, okay, what do I want to learn from COVID? What do I want to learn from this time at home with Jeff and Eric? Which, I mean, for us, like we were always like, we were home. Like that was our thing. That was like our default. But, we were also like really adventurous and we were going out a lot and, experiencing a lot of things. And so, for us, we kind of had to say, okay, where do we want our lives to be? What do we want our lives to look like when when this is over? Um, because as I'm recording this now, there are vaccines on the way. Like, it's coming. There is an end to this. And it may be 6 months down the road, but there is an end to this. Like, we can see it, right? And so if that's the case, we need to be really intentional about what we want our lives to look like when this is over. Because what's going to happen if we don't do that is you're just going to go back to where you were before, right? And all the stress and all the meetings and too many activities with your kids and working too much and all the stress and all the things. And so this is like a monumental opportunity for you to sit there and say, no, enough, I'm done. I'm going to decide what I want to take from this experience to bring with me post-pandemic. And what am I going to leave? What am I going to leave here? Like, I talked to so many people. They were like, I've started walking more. I've started eating better. I've started spending more time with my children. I'm spending more time with my spouse. I'm spending time for me. Like, I've rediscovered some of my hobbies, or I've started hobbies. Like, there's so many cool things that I see people doing. Um, and it's awesome. And I fear that when everything reopens, that we're not going to have learned anything from this. And so that's why I want to talk about how do you get back on track when you're stuck? Because I think, just like the goals, I think this is an important thing to start right now and determining what you want your life to look like right now. Okay, so I've got 5 things that I want you to think about, 5 steps to getting unstuck. Okay. And I'm going to go through these pretty quickly because I know you're busy mamas. Okay. And that intro took way longer than I thought it was going to, but I think it was important. So bear with me. Okay. Roll with me on this one. Sometimes the way my brain works, it's like, Kristen, you're going to go in this direction. Oh, no, wait, they need to hear this. Wait, stop. Okay. So that's what happens. So please bear with me when that happens. Okay. All right. So the first thing that you need to do if you want to get unstuck is you've got to figure out what's really important. Okay, and we just talked about that. And so what I like to do is I just like to grab like a blank piece of paper or a notebook or something and just like brainstorm, like, what all am I doing? What all do I want to be doing? And just kind of like stick it all on paper and then say, okay, all right, this is not important. Like, circle the things that are important, cross out the things that are not important. Like, for me, honestly, for me, the most important things are my family, my health, um, and the work that I do. And I know it sounds kind of crazy, but I love what I do. And so, yeah, so that's, and there's things like, like adventuring and camping and, that those are all important things. But like when I'm looking at it, laundry and cleaning my house is not on my list. And I know that's on some people's list. It's not on my list. It's just not. Um, Doing yard work. I like my yard to look nice, but doing yard work is not on my list. And so I want you to figure out like what is really important to you. Okay. And have that be like 3 to 5 things that are like your non-negotiable, really important things. Okay. All right, so that's step 1. And if you're struggling with this, we're going to put some links in the show notes at smallbizmama.com. I love Greg McKeown's book, Essentialism. It is so good. It is so, so good. And he has a podcast too, and we'll link to both of those. Because I just like his book, I probably listen to at least once a year. I think this year I listened to it twice. And I love his podcast comes out on Mondays, and it's like Monday morning in the shower, I'm listening to Greg. It's my thing. So again, if you go to smallbizmama.com, click on the show notes for episode 39. We'll link to his book. Okay. So number one, figure out what's really important. Number two, reconnect with your why. Why are these things important? Because, I think sometimes there are certain things that we believe should be important to us. But when you think about your why and why they're important, you realize they're not that important to you. They're just not. And that's okay. We don't all have to have the same list of important things. We just don't. Okay. But reconnect with why these things are important to you. And again, this is another exercise where you're going to want to do some writing. And it doesn't have to be like full sentences. It could be words. It could be pictures. It could be however your brain works. Okay. But it's really important to have that list of what's important and why. Okay. For me, having, and that's funny because I struggle with this internally all the time. For me, Jeff and Eric are incredibly important. And how that manifests creates an internal struggle for me, because being the breadwinner, and I did a whole episode on being the breadwinner, but being the breadwinner and being mom and wife sometimes conflict, right? And so with me, there is this constant internal battle between the breadwinner and mom and wife. Okay. And so reconnecting with my why and why they are so important helps me achieve balance between those two things. Right. And so, for me, like this morning, I'll give you a good example. So this morning, and again, I got this from Greg McEwen from Essentialism. I ask myself multiple times a day, what's the most important thing I could be doing right now? And this morning, after I had breakfast, the most important thing I could do was spend a half an hour playing with Eric. It just was. And I knew, like, I had a really long to-do list and I had lots of things, but there was nothing that was so urgent that I could not spend 30 minutes playing with my son. And so I did. We played trucks. It was great. And it was fun. And we tore up little pieces of paper and it was awesome. It was fantastic. But we had a really good time. And then I came upstairs and I was so much more productive when I got up here because I wasn't thinking about the things I was missing out on downstairs while Jeff and Eric were playing. Because I thought the most important thing I could do was play with my son this morning. I needed it. He needed it. We all needed it. And so understanding your why, right, and knowing what's really important is just it's game changing when you're stuck. Okay. So those are the first two. Then the third thing that I want you to do, and I think people really struggle with this, I want you to determine what's realistic but hard. Okay. So in the corporate world, they call these like stretch goals. What's realistic but hard. And so for me, that's an internal, right? I'm constantly battling between being the breadwinner, the CEO, and wife and mom. Okay. So it's, and I know I talk about this all the time on the podcast and on my lives, but there's this exercise I have people do in bookkeeper training school. I did a whole episode on it where you spend your time on paper. Like you figure out like, how am I going to spend my week? And it's amazing because I have all these women that they need 200 hours or 250 hours or 180 hours. It's like, guys, you only have 168. That's all we got. So how are we gonna make this work? And a lot of it is being realistic about what you can actually accomplish. Okay. And the reason that I say realistic but hard is not because I want your life to be difficult, but because I want you to push yourself a little bit. Um, I'm in this group called 99 Walks, and I'll put the link in the show notes. Um, it is such it is such a cool group. So essentially what it is you pay a fee and you set a walking goal for yourself. Okay. And your walking goal can be whatever you want it to be. You just set a number of miles for the month. You set it. Nobody sees it but you. Okay. And some of the women in this group are just so motivating. Um, there was a woman who posted in the group the other day that when she first joined, she was doing 250 steps a day. A day. Okay. And she is now walking, she walked 80 miles last month. Like, think about that. Think about that. To go from 250 steps a day to, walking almost 3 miles a day. And this is not like your step count. This is intentional walks, which means you can't like use your Fitbit at the end of the day and say, all right, I walked 10,000 steps. So that's 5 miles. I'm going to put 5 miles in the app. This is going for an intentional walk during the day. Okay. And those are the miles that you track. And so it's just so like some of the stories in here though are just, they're amazing. They're amazing. It's so motivating to be in this group. Again, I'll put the link in the show notes for episode 39. Go to smallbizmama.com. But so the women in the group that do that, right? They have to start with what's realistic, but then they also have to look at, okay, what's hard, right? Because if we say, I can only do this many steps a day, or I can only do this distance a day, and I never say, but you know what? I'm going to try a little bit more, right? I can generate this much income in my business, and you never try to do a little bit more. I can network this way, but I could never be on this podcast. I could never be, I could never speak on a stage. I could never inspire women. If you don't think realistic but hard, you're never going to push yourself forward, right? You're never going to get a little bit better than today. Okay. And so I think that brings me, it's funny because I was going to make this point number 5 and I'm going to make a point number 4. You need to be okay with failing. I think I see this in college all the time. Okay. We have not prepared our children to fail at things because we do not allow ourselves to fail at things. Okay. And I'm going to do a whole episode. Trust me, I have this whole episode planned out for preparing your kids for college, because having been in higher ed for over 12 years, I have a lot to say. Okay. You have to be okay with failing. If you do not allow yourself to fail, you cannot do realistic but hard. You can't, because you're always going to play it safe. You're always going to default to stuck because putting yourself out there is too scary. It's funny. This is one thing that Eric has picked up. Mama, too scary. Like, no, honey, nothing's too scary. It's not too scary. Right. And it's funny because it's like this little like joke in my house or whatever, but he always pushes through and he always does it anyways. You have to be okay with failure. I think a lot of women who go into business who fail because they don't want to hear no, because that's failure. And so they won't put themselves out there. They won't reach out to people. They won't pitch themselves. They won't go for the sale because they're afraid to hear no. So what I teach in bookkeeper training school is the goal is not to hear yes. The goal is to hear an answer. And so when the goal is to get an answer, which may be yes, which may be no, you've achieved your goal. Ding, ding, that's a win, right? Sometimes you have to change the outcome. So instead of saying, I'm going to make 7 sales, which means I need 7 yeses, it may be, okay, for me to make 7 sales, I know that I need to reach out to 200 businesses. So, or 100 businesses or 50 businesses, whatever the conversion rate is for your industry. And so my goal is to reach out to that many businesses and to foster those relationships. It's okay to fail. It's okay to hear no. It's good for us. And like I said, I'm gonna do that's gonna be part of a whole episode about kids in college. Watch out for that. It's coming. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button if that sounds interesting to you. And we're going to be talking about how to get your kids ready for college before they start kindergarten. Okay. Make sure you hit the subscribe button right now on your app. Okay. Wherever you're watching. Okay. So figure out what's really important. Number 2, reconnect with your why. Number 3, determine what's realistic but hard. Number 4, be okay with failure. And then number 5, shift one thing that will have the most impact. Okay, and I talked a little bit about this in our episode on how to figure out your goals. If you're not sure what to do, okay. Go back and listen to that one. I think it was 37 or 38. We'll put the link in the show notes. Okay. Shift one thing that will have the most impact. And for all of us, that's a different thing. But because what happens is if you find that one thing when you're stuck, it creates a ripple effect to unstick everything else. So it's funny because, I was going through this. You can have a ripple effect either way. You can have a positive ripple effect or a negative ripple effect. And so one of the things I struggle with between, CEO and mom, right, and wife, is spending time with my family, but also getting the work done that I need to get done. And so one of the things I started doing last week or the week before was I started working at night. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to work from 7 to 9 and then I'll go to bed. If I work at night, my brain will not shut off. It just won't. Jeff does not have this problem. I do. And so I found like I wasn't going to bed till like midnight. But what I did figure out is that I can do household stuff at night and fall asleep. I just can't do business stuff at night. And so one of the things that Jeff and I talked about, Jeff does a lot of the housework and the laundry and stuff like that. And I do all the cooking, the food stuff, the money management, like we balance it out. But I said, I'm going to do some of the house stuff at night to free up some of your time during the day to get more work done. Or even, if he wants to come upstairs and work at night, he can. But what that allows me to get some of that stuff done and still go to bed. Okay. Because if I go to bed late, I don't wake up early in the morning. And then I have a really hard time getting to my desk and getting work going. So that one shift to say, okay, I'm not going to work at night. I can do stuff around the house, right? I can work on curriculum stuff for Eric. I can read. I just can't do business stuff because my brain starts going and I have 8,000 ideas. I'm sure you struggle with this too. I just can't get that part of my brain to shut off. Okay. And so that one shift means I'm going to bed earlier. I'm getting up earlier. I'm getting more work done overall, which is kind of cool. And I'm just sleeping better. So one shift has made so much impact on everything else. And so if you're not sure what that thing is for you, post in the Small Biz Mama group. Okay, if you're not a member of the group, go to the show notes, go to smallbizmama.com, and we'll link it in the show notes. Okay. Join the group, post about it, and we'll help you work that out. Okay. So hopefully that's helpful for you. But find that, because it's funny, it creates this whole thing. And then there's like this momentum shift and you get unstuck. But don't try to change all the things. That's typically the recipe to get you back stuck. Okay. Change one thing that's going to have the most impact. So it might be your health. It might be your sleep. It might be your relationship with your spouse. It might be your relationship with your kids. It could be just that you need more sleep. Okay. So figure out kind of where you think that big deficit is, and maybe like write down a whole bunch of things. So if you write down a whole bunch of things that you might want to try, or, you might want to create a new habit, write that whole list and then say, okay, which one of these, if I did it, would cause a shift for some of the other ones? And try that and see how that works. Okay. So hopefully this was helpful for you. Hopefully you will start to think about how you can get back on track and get unstuck and get ready for post COVID. Okay. Because we are closer than you think. I cannot believe that this year is almost over. I mean, I remember back in March, things were moving so slowly. And then all of a sudden it's like, no, it's December, right? How did that happen? I have no idea. I don't know, but we're here. Okay. So hopefully this was helpful for you. I'd love to get your feedback. Please, please, please leave the show a rate and review. That helps other moms find the show, and it helps my team and I help more people. So thank you so much for all of your help. Thank you for your ratings and your reviews wherever you're listening. Thank you for subscribing. You mamas are amazing. You really are. Thank you for helping us help you and help other moms. All right, mamas, you have a phenomenal day. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to Small Biz Mama with Kristen Ingram. If you'd like to learn how to create more margin in your life, please visit us at smallbizmama.com. That's smallbizmama.com.